Hi everyone, it's Nick. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. Okay, in this video today, we are going to be talking about what's new at Ikea for spring 2022. Now, I usually do this on my channel like once every few months, usually just kind of like a few times a year, just to kind of give you a little bit of an overview about what's new at Ikea to save you from going in and wandering the maze yourself. But I thought I would do something a little bit different this time. I thought I would categorize them into the good, the bad, and the ugly, which is a little bit dramatic, but hear me out. Because I went to my local Ikea to check out all the new things, and some were really good, some weren't so good, and some were extremely unfortunate. So I thought, rather than just do a quick overview, I thought I would categorize them and give you a little bit of my thoughts around what's working at Ikea, what's maybe worth your money at Ikea for this year, and what's not. So let's get to it. Okay, so first on my good list, there's more goods on this list, I'll be honest, than bads and uglies. But the first good I want to talk about is the Konsfull. By the way, yes, I will butcher all the Swedish and the Danish and the whatevers, okay? So I'm going to butcher the names, but I'll try my best. The Konsfull. So this is a collection that was launched with a collaboration between Ikea and Ilse Crawford, and it is an amazing collection of beautiful vases, whatever you want to say. I really like these. These are really beautiful. I think they're all hand blown, which is very, very unique and cool. They're all really beautiful, very elegant, come in a whole range of different colors, and I really think they're beautiful. I really love this green one here. And here's what I think is really interesting. It's got like three sort of different little inner rings. And what I think is really neat about that is that they've done that to create a way for you to kind of position the flowers inside the vase so that you can kind of get the right angle for whatever you're looking for. So if you put a bunch of flowers in there, you can do a little bit of arranging and it's a lot easier rather than have them all kind of slide out to the ends. I think that's really smart. What a little smart, Ilse, Ikea, smart. Like that just makes sense. I love that. I think this is a really, really cool collection. Awesome collaboration between Ilse and Ikea. So love that one. Okay, now let's get to one of the bad ones. And again, if you like the bad and the ugly, which again is a bit dramatic, if you like these, that's cool. Don't listen to me. Like maybe you'll see something here in the not so great section that you like for yourself. So that's always a good thing. But I am going to point out this one here. This one is called the Lagtryck. This is like a stand-up floor lamp that really just kind of, to me, looks like a foam roller. Ikea has some of these stand-up lamps that I don't think are particularly elegant. They're made sometimes of like plastic or, you know, sometimes maybe a sustainable material, which we do love that, which I think this one is, which is great, but they're using materials that, yes, might be sustainable in production, but they are not particularly timeless and elegant and something that you're probably gonna keep in your home long-term. At least that's my opinion. So rather than buying really sustainable pieces made of recycled plastic, which is a good thing, if it's not attractive or it's kind of disposable or it sort of feels like it's gonna collapse at a given moment, because I kind of felt it when I was at the store and it feels a little bit flimsy, and I would rather people spend a little bit more time. I think what is truly more sustainable is spending a little bit, maybe more money, or at least choosing materials that are going to be a little bit more timeless and something that's not going to feel as flimsy, like it's going to fall apart as this foam roller that we have here. So great that they're using sustainable materials, not so great that they put in a floor lamp that, in my opinion, is probably going to last one semester in a person's dorm before it ends up on Facebook Marketplace. So to me, this one's a little bit of a miss. Sorry, it's gonna go in the bad category. Okay, but in the ugly, and there's not that many of these, and I don't love the word ugly, but we are going to talk about this Uppland granny chair. So the Uppland is like a very classic Ikea side chair, and it is something that has been around for quite a while now, and it's really cool. I see it a lot in white. It's very popular in white, and it kind of works in like a really comfortable space, something maybe like a farmhouse space, or something that is Scandinavian even, right? Like that really like white, timeless. It's got these really kind of little, kind of cool rolled arms. Not really my style, but that's okay. Just because something's not, I say that all the time, but just because something's not my style doesn't mean it's not yours. I like the rolled arms, so I actually think it's kind of cool. But it's in this pattern. This pattern is new for Ikea. I thought I could ignore Grand Millennial and maybe like if I just didn't give it airtime, maybe it would die. But you know, I don't have that much control over what people put in their homes, unfortunately. So this piece is here to stay, and Grand Millennial and the granny chic is here, apparently. So this armchair, in my opinion, is not great. It's a little bit granny chic, but not chic. It's just old granny. Even your grandma's like, girl, Update your pattern. Get something a little bit more chic, a little bit more timeless. This to me is just not something, I just don't love all these florals. I don't love this color. I think this shade of red is quite hard to pull off in a home, I think, especially in this really floral pattern. I think it doesn't look particularly elegant. I think it's gonna be for a very specific, either like a country cottage vibe, again with the cottage core, or maybe some sort of grand millennial. And you know what, here's the thing, can I just say this? Apparently people have told me that one of the best parts about the grand millennial, you know, interior design style, this new traditional wave taken over amongst the young'uns, is supposedly that you're able to thrift all this stuff. Great, cool, but is it not thrifted when you're just buying a brand new granny chic chair from Ikea? Kind of feels like it's taking away from a lot of what a lot of people really supposedly love about grand millennials. So to me, I think this is not great. I'm gonna put this in the ugly category because it's, you know, too granny for me. But again, if you love this style, great. But maybe, you know, I'm sure some old grandma's got something in her basement that you could use instead of this. So I'm gonna say this is a miss for me. But that shouldn't really surprise you. Okay, next up in the good category is this Linanas, which is a, I totally butchered that one, but it comes in a sectional. It comes in a love seat, I believe it comes in a couch. I think this is really cool. I love the little just like subtle curves in this one. I think this is a very sort of really clean and streamlined sort of modern sectional, and I think it's really cool. It comes in a bunch of different colors. I really like the rounded edges. I just think it gives it a little bit more personality. Yeah, I really like this one. I think it's chic, I think it's simple, I think it's just a really, really nice sectional that I think is going to make its way into a lot of people's homes. I think this is very on trend right now for Ikea, and I think they did a really good job with this one. But in the bad category, I am going to put this Kivik Sectional. I'm sorry, I just like fell asleep looking at this sectional. Sorry. This is really beige, and not in a like really like this more minimalist, chic brown, like really rich tones of coffee and chocolate and whatever, like, you know, these little rich brown tones that people are just really loving right now. No, this is a beige that is just boring. This is a really boring sectional. As I said, like, oh my God, what a snoozer. Not necessarily like you'd want to take a nap on it, but just because it's so boring. There's nothing to it. It's just like kind of square blocks piled on top of each other. There's no shape. Compare that with the previous section we just talked about, which just has a little bit more of some elegant curves. This one, you know, maybe if it had some legs on it, like the previous one, some wooden legs, like I really like that about the Kivik, maybe that would be interesting. Maybe if it had a little bit more shape to it than just some blocky curves. This one's just, maybe it comes in a different color, but this is just really boring. I do like that sometimes Ikea has some classic pieces. Again, like the Uppland chair in white, not granny. You know, that's a classic shape, and it's really, you know, it's got some interesting curves to it, and that's great. This is not classic, it's just boring. And I think that's you have to, like, if you're gonna have a sectional in your living room, don't make it this one, right? Just have something with a little bit more shape, a little bit more style. This is just really boring, and that's why it makes it in the bad category. Even my favorite little Cinderleg pendant in this photo can't save it. It's just in the most boring room with the most boring sectional that I've ever seen in my entire life. So I would say this one is a skip. Okay, and then in the ugly category, we are going to put the Kangsleboda, which is this collection, an entire collection of cheesy signs that Ikea has brought in. This particular one that I'm showing off says "My Happy Place." So I don't love Ikea art in general. I think it's one of those areas that just is such an opportunity for you to show off some personality, to do something a little bit more interesting. You know, even if you're just gonna, you can still buy from a mainstream retailer. I'm not saying you have to go, and you can source something from Etsy or make it yourself or do something really cool or hire an artist or something. I mean, that's great. But even if you just go to a kind of a mainstream retailer, I think it's probably fine to buy art. You know, that's fine. I've got lots of pieces in my home that are from mainstream retailers, but Ikea in particular is just so massive that this is just an area that is just not something that Ikea, in my opinion, is really, really great at, because again, it's global, it's everywhere. Like pretty much every country has an Ikea, I think at this point. Inevitably someone in the comment section from New Zealand or something is gonna say, actually, we don't have an Ikea. That, I get it, but like, you know, most people have an Ikea. And so the Ikea art is everywhere. And this particular signage is not where I wanted to see them go. I personally would love to see Ikea, even if they just launched like really limited collections with a specific artist, I think that would be cool. But this ain't it, this ain't it. We don't need any more signs. We're done with the signs, we're over the signs. I am very much on record to say that I don't love word signs in people's homes, or at least not in my home. And so that's something that I'm not a big fan of. And I'm really not a fan of super generic signs that people put in their homes at global retailers like Ikea, where they mass produce this stuff on the scale of millions. So this is a huge big miss for me. But on my hit list, we've got this Anledning, which is a really cool vase. I really love where Ikea is going with the vases lately. I do think that they've got a lot of really interesting pieces. And again, unlike art, it's something that it doesn't really matter. Now, I don't think as much if you have the same one as 1,000 other people have in their homes, as much as a statement like like an art piece does in your home. I think these are really cool. I love how it's got these ribbed sides. I think it's got a little bit of texture. I think it's quite interesting. A lot of Ikea old vases I found used to be sort of clear glass and basic. This one here, playing with a little bit of texture. I think that's really cool. It comes in some sort of interesting colors. They're definitely playing with different colors, which I love. I think this one is a really great option for people to think about, especially for spring, because we're heading into the season where people are going to be bringing more fresh flowers into their space. So I think this is a really great addition to bring out some of these really kind of cool vases. So good job, Ikea. But what is not a hit, in my opinion, gonna put in the bad category, not completely unfortunate, but that would be these Fejkas, which is the plastic flowers from Ikea. These are these new ones that they have just launched for spring. Here's the thing, I'm not necessarily a person that is completely anti-artificial plants, especially in rooms like bathrooms and stuff where you want to put some greenery perhaps, and there's probably not going to be a whole lot of natural light in there. I understand that, so I'm not necessarily a die-hard, has to be real plants all the time 100% person. Do I prefer them? Of course I prefer like real plants over artificial ones. I think kind of everybody does, but I would say these ones in particular are a miss. And the reason is because Ikea needs to up their game on the artificial plants. They are just very plasticky and really cheap looking and very obviously not real. And there are some better faux plants that are out there. Ikea's are just not it. So I've looked at these ones and they just looked really cheap and fake and very plasticky and massive dust collectors. And so I'm not a fan of them. Okay, let's bounce back to the good category. And that is going to be the Morabo, which is a really beautiful couch that I love. And it is not new, but the blue velvet is new for this season. And I think that this blue velvet is really cool. I like velvet as a material. I think it is very luxe. I think it really works in like an Art Deco space if you're doing that Art Deco thing that is very trendy of the moment, and I really love. And this blue velvet is really cool. And again, sometimes like these sort of interesting fabrics that, like velvet, for example, can sometimes be really expensive at other retailers, but Ikea has done a really great job, and they have done it in this really beautiful shape. This Morabo is a really beautiful couch. I think it is really interesting. It is cool. I like how it's got the buttons on the cushions, which you wouldn't necessarily probably think that I like, but I do actually. It's got just a little touch of traditional in there that is really interesting. I kind of like that sometimes in a couch. I think it looks really cool. So I really love the Morabo, and I really love it in this blue velvet. I think this is my favorite fabric of that collection, which I think it already is a great collection, but I think you add in the blue velvet and it's just even better. Okay, next we've got the Saluding laundry basket. And this one is actually made of bamboo. And I know like the bamboo and the rattan, and a lot of people don't necessarily love that as a material choice. I know some of you really don't like it. You're very vocal in the comments. I hear you, but I actually think it looks really nice in this laundry basket. Look, it's not the sexiest thing in the world to talk about a laundry basket. There's a lot of great ones that are out there, cute little baskets, from Ikea, from H&M Home, from like lots and lots of places. But I really like this one. I think it's really cool. I think it's just really nice to have a nice little bamboo basket. It's a little natural texture in the corner, a great price point, really chic, really cool. I just love this little basket. I think it's cute, definitely worth a look. Okay, and then in the bad category, I'm going to throw this Ramebo Mirror. Ooh, okay, so here's the thing. So as a mirror, it's not bad. But here's the thing, is that they've added this like faux detailing that like clips on. Ooh, I don't love clip-on things. This like type of mirror, which I think there's like the restoration hardware that like everyone kind of went crazy for before. This mirror is very popular, right? Having, this brass mirror, and then you got this really kind of interesting detailing on the top, maybe a little bit around the sides. This is very popular. We have seen this in other retailers like Restoration Hardware all over the place. Very, very popular, has been for a little bit. This is kind of Ikea's take on it. They tried to do two things in one. So rather than necessarily just coming out with this type of mirror, they kind of wanted to have their cake and eat it too and still appeal to people that were not looking for this detailing. So they added this little clip-on piece. Ooh, it doesn't work for me just because I think it just looks really, really kind of cheap and really sort of fake looking. I already actually don't love Ikea's brass in general. Like I've made some exceptions, like I do really like their brass bar card, I think is kind of cute, but I do sometimes find their brass looks really yellowy and looks really, really, really fake. And this mirror kind of fits in that category. I do think when it's plain, I think it looks a lot better. And I think that could maybe be a worthwhile addition to your home. But I think once you clip on some detailing to it, it's a bit of a miss. Okay, next up we have the Aspsaftmal, Aspsaftmal, okay, I can't, sorry. Okay, Ikea's got so many pillows, right? They've got so many good pillows. And pillows and throws, they've definitely been on fire lately. This pillow's a miss because it feels like you've got a bunch of spiders on your pillow. That's what it's giving me. It's giving me definitely spider vibes, which I personally don't really care for. I think it looks really creepy. I feel like it might work for a Halloween prop, perhaps if you're decorating for Halloween. I don't really like this pillow. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like this pillow needs to be shaved down a little bit before it sees the light of day. I don't know how this one got greenlit, but I don't really care for it. Again, it just kind of looks like a bunch of spiders on your pillow, and I don't really like that. It also sounds like it's really annoying, doesn't feel all that comfy, feels like you're trying, I don't know. I just don't really like this pillow. I think there are so many better pillows I think that Ikea offers. There's some really plain ones that come in a whole bunch of different fabrics like velvet, like linen, like cotton, whatever. Lots of different options there. This sort of textured pillow is just really not working for me. Okay, but what is working for me is this Kabomba wall light. This, I'm gonna put in the good category. I do quite like it, but I do think it's really interesting, and I think it shows that even Ikea has caught wind of the Art Deco sort of movement that's happening in design. So they're definitely, you know, they've got their ear to the ground a little bit. They're definitely seeing that this is kind of a trend that is coming through, which I am personally doing my part to will into existence. And I think they're doing a really good job with this lamp. I would love to see this, you know, maybe over top of in a bathroom, could go in a vanity, for example, and you could have kind of two of these on either side. I think that would look really chic. I do think it looks really great and a little bit more formal to have two wall sconces on either side of a mirror in a bathroom. I think that looks really beautiful. You could possibly use it in a bedroom, but I really feel like it's probably at home in a bathroom, and I think that would really work at its best. I think it's really beautiful, definitely an interesting sconce that is really neat, and again, taps into that Art Deco vibe, which you all know that I'm a big fan of. Okay, next up, we're gonna talk about the Gladelig, which is this new collection of dishware that Ikea has. Now, Ikea dishware sometimes is accused by people like me and others of being a bit plain Jane, right? Like they do typically come out with the same stuff, the Ikea 365 collection, which, you know, is great, by the way, and it's a kind of utilitarian dishware set that is going to last you a very long time, and it's a really great thing, but of course it's going to be quite plain, and this is really interesting, and I love that. They've done some really beautiful ceramics here in blue, and it's got a really interesting brown detailing. They also have it in white, which I think it looks really cool, a little bit more elegant and probably a little bit more timeless, I think, to go with the white. I think that's a bit more classic, but you can't ignore that the blue is really interesting and really cool. So great job there from Ikea. Okay, and then next up, also in the good category, is this Ombonad, which is this walnut tray. Now, here's the thing. Not only do I think it looks really cool, so it's made of birch, but then it's got a walnut veneer on top. Walnut veneer is pretty much the best we're gonna get from Ikea, right? Like there's like walnut effect, which is been faked basically, right? It's plastic, but just kind of imprinted or printed to make it look like wood grain. Then you've got the veneer, which means they just put a really thin layer of real wood. And then you've got a tray that's actually real solid wood, where someone's actually like taken a piece of walnut and crafted it into a tray. It's Ikea. We're not gonna get that third category, okay? Let's just be clear. If you wanna go and you want to get something that is handcrafted or something that is made of real wood and turned into something really beautiful at an elegant tray, Ikea is not the retailer for you to look to. But so much of Ikea is that wood effect, or like where they do this all the time with marble as well, right? Marble effect, where they just basically print on something that looks like stone or looks like wood, because that's a heck of a lot cheaper than going out and actually getting the real thing. That's why you're getting that price point. But this is a walnut veneer, which again is kind of the best that we're really gonna get from Ikea. And so I'm gonna say that this is really, really cool. I actually love also that the birch that it's actually made of, you can actually see that along the rim, which I think is really cool because you get a little bit of the contrast of the two different wood tones. And that's really smart because now you're getting the cheaper price point that comes with having it made of birch with the walnut veneer, but you're using that and still making something really interesting and cool because you're getting that contrast of wood tones, which I think works really well and makes it, in a way, almost look better than if it was made just of walnut, to be honest with you. So I think that they did a really good job of taking something that is a cheaper price point to save on cost, but they actually incorporated that into the design to make it really kind of aesthetically pleasing. So I think that this is really, really cool and definitely an interesting tray. I think I'm gonna actually pick this one up. This one looks good. Okay, next up in the bad category, we are gonna talk about this Iskarna, which is this super duper creepy light that they have, which lights up in a bunch of different colors. It is the shape of a human head. It is brightly colored LED, and it's there to basically prop your sunglasses or your hat, your baseball caps, whatever that you might have for your home. The reason this didn't go in the ugly category is because I'm gonna give this a very specific purpose. This is, I think, a targeted product towards teenage boys, and that seems to be the category that it's like laser focused on appealing to. And since I am not a teenage boy, and when I was a teenage boy, I wouldn't have had this in my room, but that's a whole other story. I think that's who it's targeting, right? So I'm gonna give it a slight pass over the fact that this just isn't meant for me. And if you're probably watching this channel, it's probably not meant for you, because unless you have a teenage boy, but you, based on my YouTube demographics, I don't have many 15-year-old boys watching my YouTube channel. So I'm going to guess it's not for you. It's definitely not for me. So I'm gonna give it in the bad category and not the ugly category, because it does have a specific purpose. However, I still think it's creepy and not in the good category for that reason. So for me, and probably for you, it's a skip. Okay, next up, we've got this Gardskrappa, which is this floral curtains, which, please see the floral side chair that we talked about earlier. I'm not saying I don't like florals. I feel like people are just gonna assume that I don't like florals. I don't really like florals, but I would say that it's this particular style of florals that just feel very granny. So this is gonna go in the granny category that we talked about earlier of why I don't think they're great. I just think these look really dated before they even go in your home, which is not what I would consider to be a timely piece that's worth investing in. Ikea has so many great curtains. In my opinion, this particular pattern is not one of them. Okay, we're gonna do one more in the good category, and that is the Smedstorp. This is a really interesting, beautiful black velvet love seat that I think is really cool. I love how it's got these little wooden dowel legs, which I think really kind of elevates it, makes it a little bit more interesting. Love the curves on this one. I think I might even like this more than the first curved sort of sectional that I talked about. I think this one is really, really neat. It's a really adorable little love seat. I love that it comes in this beautiful fabric. Comes in a few different options, but this is the one, this sort of black velvet is the one that I'm personally really rooting for. I think it's really, really cool. Just a nice, cute little sectional. Definitely a hit for me. Okay, and finally, we have another in the ugly category, and that is the Pjatteryd, which is a collection of more word art. Yeah. Please see what I said earlier about the word art, but I particularly want to talk about these ones because they've got recipes on them. No one's making this mushroom soup, right? Like, let's call that as it is. At least let's call it for what it is. This is supposedly art, which is fine if you really, really love that. I don't, as you all know. But, you know, the recipe stuff, I think it's just sort of, again, it's this like fake agrarian, old school cottagecore sort of thing where, you know, if you really want that look, then great. Then, you know, maybe go and find a recipe from like your actual grandmother and maybe put that on a canvas of some sort, if that's really what you're into. Or just maybe display some really beautiful books that are gorgeous and recipe books that you might actually use. There's, by the way, this is not the only Pjatteryd or whatever. There's a whole category of a bunch of different items that Ikea has blessed us with, and I don't recommend any of them. But if you love it, let me know how the soup is, and you know, enjoy it, and then comment below and let me know how the soup goes, because maybe it's delicious. I doubt it, but it's maybe. Go for it. Oh, and by the way, I just checked that it's actually pumpkin soup, which is actually maybe even worse than mushroom soup. Neither are good soups, but good luck. Okay, that's it for me for today, guys. I hope you really enjoyed this little walkthrough of Ikea's 2022 collection. I hope I was able to give you maybe some insight, or at least my insight, into what Ikea has in store. And I'm now going to link here to my Ikea playlist. I've got lots of Ikea content. If you're new here, you can go and check all that out, and I will see you all in the next video. Thanks, bye.